Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Fantasy, brought to you by Benched. We have a emergency pod for you. Brian Robertson Junior of the Washington Commanders traded to the San Francisco 49ers. Here's the tweet from Ian Rappaport. The Commanders finalizing the trade to send Brian Robertson Jr., their starter for the last 3 seasons, to the 49ers. It's a 6-rounder going back at last. Washington moves on with Austin Eckler, JCM, and a young group. San Francisco gets another running back. We're going to talk about Washington in a second. Let's start with San Francisco. AJ Woodson in the house today to talk about this.
What up?
AJ, first impressions, and then we'll get into some stats.
Man, you talk real life football. This is great for San Francisco. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey going into the season, 29 years old. You want to make sure you have that insurance. Obviously, you're hoping nothing happens to him, but you just want to make sure you have that insurance. As far as fantasy goes, if I'm a Christian McCaffrey owner, I'm not worried here. I don't think Brian Robinson really eats into his production. And even if they do plan to use him kind of simultaneously with CMC, I took a look at the stats from Deebo Samuel during 2023 season when Christian McCaffrey just went nuclear. Deebo Samuel got a lot of work. I mean, he didn't have a ton of carries per game. He averaged 6 yards per carry, though. And get this, Deebo scored 5 rushing touchdowns that season. That Christian McCaffrey was the clear, number one fantasy asset. So if I'm a Christian McCaffrey drafter, I'm not too worried here. I think they can both eat in this offense. Now, if you're a Brian Robinson owner, there's this was obviously not the destination you were hoping for.
So the former third-round pick wasn't ever dynamic. I don't think you could ever describe him that way. Was the starter, but I think most seasons we could probably agree that he was a starter because there really wasn't a better option available. We look at his time here in Washington, right around 700 to 800 yards rushing per year. The touchdowns did go up, and that was kind of his saving grace in the fantasy world. You see that last year, 8 touchdowns altogether with the 200 touches he got. Still under 1,000 yards, not great. And the 8 touchdowns obviously didn't give you much through the air. So Brian Robinson going over to the Niners, I agree with you. I don't think it does anything to CMC owners. I don't think they should worry at all. I think this is just they were so banged up as usual, in the 49ers backfield. I think just Isaac Guerendo was there. I think if it affects anyone's fantasy value, it's probably Isaac Guerendo. I know a lot of people probably holding him, hoping that, that's going to pay off a lottery ticket one day. But I think with the addition of Brian Robinson, he's good enough to where if CMC did go down, it'd be a real toss-up. You wouldn't be really sure who would take those carries now that Brian Robinson's there. In football world, I think it's a great trade for the Niners. I think it's a necessary trade. But fantasy implications as far as 49er owners, I don't think there's really much there. Tweet here from Adam Schefter. Isaac Guerendo, Jordan James, Corey Kinner, and others have all missed time. CMC only played 4 games last year. Now Brian Robertson Jr. joins the group. He worked with John Lynch and Adam Peters and all that. But, so, I mean, if this remains the same, nothing is valuable unless CMC goes down, and then we can have these conversations. But it almost feels like it's not even worth having those conversations because who can tell who's going to be healthy when that happens? This team is just snake bit so much. Let's talk about the fun side here, and that is the Washington Commanders side. That's the part that's buzzing on Twitter. That's the part that I'm sure people are coming to get answers for. Let's take a look at the backfield with Brian Robertson Jr. gone. You have Austin Eckler there, the veteran, the fantasy legend. I think showed last year that he still has some juice. He's not a throwaway. I think when he's healthy, he's fine. But that was the problem last year. Couldn't keep him on the field. Chris Rodriguez is there. Of course, the training camp sensation, Bill Croskey-Merrit. We're going to totally go with Bill now, right? Like we're done with Jacory.
Yeah, I think we have to. I mean, I like the JCM. That was kind of cool.
Yeah,
JCM's cooler than Bill, but I guess he wants to be called Bill. Is that like his middle name or something?
I don't think so. I think it's just he prefers Bill over Jacory.
You want to pick like Tank? Like it seems like everybody's nickname is Tank nowadays.
Bill. Jeremy McNichols, and then a couple guys there at the end that I don't think it's even worth talking about. But AJ, we'll talk about JCM in a second, or I guess we'll talk about him now. But like as far as like how do you see this backfield shaking up as far as people in their draft and moving forward?
It's funny. This reminds me so much of the 2020 Jacksonville Jaguars, who around the same time of this year unceremoniously cut Leonard Fournette. And there was just a rush with fantasy drafters. I think it was after most drafts had already taken place. People rushed to go pick up Dare Agumbawale. Chris Thompson I think he was going in 30 years old that season. People were grabbing him. And then there was this no-name rookie, undrafted free agent named James Robinson.
Yeah.
Who ended up their leading rusher with 1,000 yards. So you never know, because Dare Agumbawale was like the guy to get after they cut Leonard Fournette that year.
Right.
You never know. And honestly, to me, if you've got a roster spot open and Chris Rodriguez is sitting there, why not just take the flyer? Yep. Why keep that fourth quarterback on your roster and just go get a guy, go take a flyer on Chris Rodriguez, or if somehow Bill Croskey-Merrit is still available after, he's just blown up all over the internet. Yeah. Why not take a flyer on one of these guys? As far as the pecking order, I was already kind of out on Austin Eckler. I think they brought in Deebo Samuel to do a lot of what Austin Eckler used to be able to do. Deebo looked pretty good in the preseason game so far. First offensive play of the game for them was a jet sweep. So Austin Eckler, again, if you've got the roster spot though, just go for it. And then Bill Croskey-Merrit really seems to be like the guy here. And then I think Chris Rodriguez could have a chance to be that. They like him. They like Chris Rodriguez. He's going into his third year. He's 24 years old. Again, we don't know.
I agree, and I'm glad that the first name you brought up was Deebo, because I feel like everyone's rushing to Bill Croskey-Merrit. The smartest guys in the room are like, actually, it's Chris Rodriguez. The real smartest guy in the room is like Jeremy McNichols. But really, I think the guy that this should make you feel the best about is Deebo Samuel. With Terry McLaurin still not on the roster, and now 8 touchdowns gone away to San Francisco, Deebo Samuel is going to get the ball in every kind of way that they can think of there with Cliff Kingsbury. And I think he got the biggest bump in recent weeks, and no one's really talking about him. His ADP isn't flying up. And I think Deebo's probably the most sure bet in this offense going forward. But talking about this running back room, I agree with you. This is a dart throw, and it's kind of like, which dart do you like the best? Do you want the vet, the old, the fantasy legend Austin Eckler, and just kind of roll the dice that he's going to throw it back one more time and stay healthy? Chris Rodriguez is a tough runner. He started the other day when Brian Robertson was, famously not there in the preseason game. Or do you want the young buck, 7th round pick, and you're going to roll the dice on him? I think the way to approach this is you draft the one that you believe in, and you, like you said, if you have your roster spot, you take your shot. I'm taking my shot on Bill Croskey-Merrit. I think he's the only one here with every down juice. If you watch him the other night, he did break that long run. But if you just watch him, it seems like the first tackler always misses. Like he breaks the first tackle almost every single run. But Chris Rodriguez had some moments in that game too, like with the starting offense. And so those are 2 guys especially in Dynasty, that I'm going to give a roster spot to. I think if you need some running back help early in the season, and you're not really trying to, take a flyer and a big risk on a younger player like Rodriguez or Merritt, I think Austin Eckler is not a bad option. Like, hey, I need 4 weeks, to figure out what I have. I don't think Austin Eckler is a terrible option. But something you got to pay attention to here is ADP, and that's kind of what I want to finish at here. Croskey-Merritt's ADP is turning borderline ridiculous here. It started, I think he was going in the 17th round. He's up to the 11th round now, and this chart's kind of funny. Shout out to Underdog. This is the fantasy world in the preseason in a nutshell here. Brian Robinson gets on the trade block. He gets a slight bump. Then he has that 27-yard rush. All of a sudden, his ADP flies up like 7 or 8 rounds. And so that's something to factor into your, what flyer am I going to take? Cost. If it's going to cost you much, much less to take a flyer on Chris Rodriguez and you have some running back depth, maybe that's the way to go. But some of us are gamblers. Like AJ, you're a fantasy gambler. You'd probably go with JCM early because you want the league winner type guy.
I mean, in our own league, he would have been on my roster weeks ago, but I just don't have any space.
Right.
I'm very, very deep into some star running backs and their handcuffs.
That's
I just
dynasty league too, I should say.
Yeah, in our dynasty league. So yeah, JCM definitely would have been on my roster weeks ago. He's on yours now, I think. But yeah, cost is everything. ADP is everything in fantasy, and the train may have passed in terms of getting the sneaky JCM pick. Just like I mean, he's 11th round, and that's probably only climbing higher after today with the news of the trade.
Oh God!
I mean, I could see him going in the 8th round now in some leagues.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
That's
7th
crazy.
round rookie going in the 8th round.
I'm interested to see what Debo's ADP has done, as he's just not being talked about. And Austin Eckler, as you said, if Terry McLaurin is not there, somebody's got to catch passes. And that's going to be Debo. That's going to be Austin Eckler. That's going to be Zach Ertz.
Yep.
What a team this would have been 6 years ago.
I don't even think about Austin Eckler when I think about that, but that's true. Austin Eckler was also this stud years ago. But yeah, we'll see. I think that's that's how you should approach it. Consider the ADP, pick your flyer. Mine would be, and I think AJ's would be Bill Croskey-Merrit. But if you need kind of more of a sure thing and early help in the season, go with Austin Eckler. You'll get him for next to nothing. And then check in on Deebo Samuel. Check in on Zach Ertz. Those are sneaky
gets.
They're helped by this situation. I can't think of the fucking word. But those are sneaky guys who are helped by this situation that no one's really talking about. That's all I got on this. Anything else, AJ?
I want you to guess, if you don't know already, who in our league has Deebo Samuel. Just the rich get richer.
Professor David Adams, I'm guessing.
The Professor David Adams. That was my problem. I looked, I'm like, let me see who's got Deebo. Let me see if I can go make a trade.
Yeah.
Hey, in your leagues, go see if you can make a trade for Deebo, because he was not a sexy pick. He was one of those picks. I mean, in our draft, he went probably 3 or 4 rounds later than he normally would have gone, or than his ADP. Go take a look, because chances are the guy that drafted Deebo in your league did not want to draft him. It was just he was there. Right. Everybody else, all the other guys at that level were gone, and they're like, you know what? I'll take Deebo. Go take a flyer and see if you can make a trade for Deebo Samuel, obviously at the right price.
I mean, this is off the cuff, but what's your ceiling for Deebo Samuel if Terry McLaurin doesn't come back or gets traded?
I mean, if he stays healthy, if Terry McLaurin doesn't come back, I mean, it's got to be 1,000-yard receiving season. Yeah. And he's probably getting 50 to 60 carries.
Easy double-digit touchdowns.
I mean, so again, bringing up Christian McCaffrey's nuclear season, Deebo finished the wide receiver 15 that year. Yeah. I mean, there was room for him in that offense. I mean, if Terry's not back, Deebo's a high-end wide receiver too.